well, C Streak, not quite yet, but could be on his way to being a
pretty
Greatest
good
Stakes
horse.
winner, and Bookham Dano.
Is a Grade 1 winner. Has there been a New Jersey bred Grade 1 winner since Open Mind? That's something we should look up. And she was
What
her
was
first.
Mom's Command?
Mom's Command was before Open Mind, but I don't think she was a.
No, she was some sort of state bred, wasn't she? Was she a Maryland bred?
I thought of that for a second. I
Yeah.
don't think she was a Massachusetts bred. Anyway, we'll get back to talking about the race. So we can just babble about stuff you probably don't care about at all.
Sorry.
That's the story of my life, by the way, babbling about stuff that nobody cares about. That's why Maggie and I get along so well. Anyway, go on and talk about my second choice and your first choice, Emerald Forest.
I have a thing against excellent timing. I just don't trust him.
No horse is capable of blowing a lead more rapidly than excellent timing.
Yeah, and he still has to deal with Poppy's Pride in here. So it's not like he's super loosey-goosey. And I just thought that with Emerald Forest, he was getting class relief. I think he's just, been in against better. He was totally out-sprinted, and he never really picked up. But that race, factually correct, wired the field. We saw Looms boldly come back in an A other than yesterday.
That
2
was
days
one
ago.
worse.
Wait, yesterday?
Yesterday. It was my only intelligent pick the entire day.
Such a tough beat. I'm sorry.
No, I picked the winner. No.
Okay.
Actually, I had a winning pick. Sarah was sweeping the card, and I was picking up some scraps here and there.
Upper game. Woo. Unfortunately, it's a wet track again. That makes me a little bit concerned, but otherwise, I just thought with the drop in class and possibly getting the right pace to run into, he could win.
I agree. I think he's very logical. I'm going to give Dangerous Ride a chance. I'm not convinced how good he is, but he can stalk. And Michelle Nevin, for what it's worth, off the claim, I think, is it off the claim and or turnbacks off the claim, I think, in dirt sprints. She's 6 for 23 with a 365 ROI, 11 hit the board. I love Michelle. I think she's a terrific trainer, and I just sort of went to this one. But listen, I think Nolo Contesto is a possible winner of this race.
I mean, what if Poppy's Pride runs the same race that he did last time?
He's in so much trouble, though, with excellent timing.
But he was able to rate a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's inside.
And this is a tougher group. And even Market Alert's not impossible for the Cantor Machis, who had a good meet, actually, here.
Yeah.
That horse of theirs that ran second at 40 to 1 the other day. It was crazy. Ran second Jefferson Street. That was a crazy overlay. It was like, whatever. Anyway, we'll go on. Race number 3 obviously lost a big player when Antonio Venice comes out, and we're actually going to show the Stallion Series where he won, and Doc Sullivan in grand opening finished second and third. And without him in the race, I think it takes a lot away from it. And
it does.
Are you going to be shocked if grand opening wires the field?
Nope, not now. He is the speed of the speed. And it's, I don't think these are a group of yet compact, nice New York breds, but it's not like that race in Maryland was awful by any means. I mean, no, it was a very short price, but third place finisher coming back, posting a 73, beating his beating Maidens.
He did well in this race, having to chase too, and now he looks like
that's
the
what I
speed,
mean.
right?
Exactly, and he ran like a horse that had experience. And he just dominated the field last time. So if he continues to get better, there's a chance that he could be the best in the field. But we still, I think we're both kind of fans of Doc Sullivan, cutting back a little bit in distance. Definitely flattered with Propriety Trade coming back and winning at Monmouth. And I think he might just prove best of this group.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way, that he was the best horse. I'd use the 4 and 5. I'm not totally against That's Money, who you have second, I have third. We'll take a look at him, I believe, winning 2 races back. I was disappointed in his effort last time, where he chased Proprietary Trade. And, Proprietary Trade did win down at Monmouth. He's kind of a need-the-lead type and just couldn't get the mile in there. I thought this was a solid effort. Big Torpedo, who your husband Tom trains, and assuming he's looking for a turf spot, right?
Yeah.
He was so unlucky.
Stallion Series race?
That Woodhaven that he lost was just a sick beat for him.
Yeah, no, I think he's good. I could be wrong. Tom will probably.
I liked him more than you did this day, by the
way.
way. I think we did a show that day.
You
did, talking about him.
Because you said there was an excuse in his last race. You said the inside was bad anyway, and I kept believing my husband when he kept saying, he's better on the turf, he's better on the turf.
How do you not know by now not to believe your husband? I mean, you've been married to him long enough.
You think I'd learn by now?
I'm guessing that Tom listens
to
everything Maggie says, though.
He got mad that the hotel room was under Wolfendale instead of Morley.
you know what? He's lucky he's not forced to change his name to Tom Wolfendale, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, we'll move on to race number 4. I'm getting a little annoyed with Spiteful Lily, and we'll show her her last race in a second. Because I'm
Wait,
starting
what?
to think
You just got annoyed with her in her last start?
No, she brings rain.
Oh, yes. She's the
Starting
rain
to be
queen.
a horse that's bringing the rain in.
I know.
This race, I know she didn't run close to her 95 buyer in the beginning. She actually ran very well in this race because this was a day where speed was dominating all day, and the riders adjusted, and guys came out of the gate basically, you know, just whipping and slashing and gunning their horses out there to show speed. So
and you could tell, like, she just didn't look comfortable either, kind of being out sprinted, run off of her feet. And this track was so much more wet than what she had first time out. So I think she wasn't necessarily handling the going and still ran well. Definitely the horse to beat.
Yeah, I like her. I think she's good. I'm kind of rooting for her for the bonds as well. And listen, it's primarily a 2-horse race, at least on paper. And we'll take a look at Cape Ferrat, who you have on top and I have second, winning down at Gulfstream Park. And Sammy Joseph has decent numbers coming off of maiden wins, second start, dirt sprints in general. I don't know what to... the one thing I'll say is this race, we take a look at it, it kind of fell apart.
It did, and she was still the last woman standing.
Hi, guys.
Do we have the Gulfstream race?
Eddie, how we doing?
She broke incredibly well, asserted herself on the front end, which you like to see from a first-time starter, and just fended off everyone.
No, I thought she ran well in there. I don't have a strong opinion. I just feel like if you look at Spiteful Lily, she just might be a little bit better.
Do you think, outside of those two, that, and I know her numbers aren't great, but Mama's Got a Gun, I visually like the way that she won her last race. And I just think she could be better than what her numbers say.
I think she is better than what her numbers say, but I'm not sure that that makes her even remotely good enough to beat both of these horses.
Right.
She might be more of a horse, for me at least, if you were interested in her, try to get her at the exacta with one of the two horses as an option. Because after her, after the first two, there's not a whole ton going on in here. I always have a bit of a thing for 13 Red Flags. Maybe her form is dissipating, but she's never really stepped her game up that much. I always kind of liked her, though.
I know. If she gets the right setup, she kind of shows up, but she's just not better than these.
All right, we'll see what happens in race number 4. We are off the turf in race number 5. I mean, you know, Big Ego has run
keep on trying.
But he's run against horses in a different galaxy than these horses in general on the dirt.
And I feel like he's just, they haven't really figured out how he's supposed to be ridden. You know what I mean? Like, they sent him hard. He sets a blistering pace going the 7/8, and then stretching out, they decide to rate him? Like,
well, it's always, you know, it's one of the things that frustrates me the most that connections will do is they go to the lead with a horse, he gets involved in a strong pace, and then they're in the next race and there's no speed, and they rate him because they say, well, he couldn't win in the front. It's like, no, it just was the wrong scenario.
Right.
You know, it's like, why did they rate Hidden Scroll in the Florida Derby? And that's where everything went awry. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he had been involved in that blistering pace in the Fountain of Youth. If he had gone
were
in the
you
front,
a Hidden Scroll fan or not?
I'm always a fan of horses I think get a bum rap. Because I think that everybody says, oh, he had that big race first time out and it was a phony.
slot.
His Fountain of Youth in his second start was brilliant considering that pace.
Yeah.
And then the sort of wheels came off a variety of ways. And it's like Tacitus. It's not Tacitus's fault that the rail was golden, he was 5 wide, and Sir Winston was on the rail in the Belmont. It wasn't his fault he stumbled at the start and ended up on a dead rail in the Jim Dandy. And I know things sort of fell apart in a lot of ways, but he was pretty good.
And, like, he kind of stuck around, so we got to see a little bit of his talent. But Hidden Scroll, I just felt like
he eventually just fell apart, you know. But I don't know. I think it started out well. I just don't like. I always ready to take the other side of a horse taking a beating that I know has run some pretty good races, you know. And I thought his loss in the Fountain of Youth was a tremendous effort. After Big Ego, I mean, I don't know what other horse I would be comfortable taking on top. I guess Mama's Mitty. Mitty is the other one who did run that crazy fast race last time, where Vetriano ran faster than the stake that day.
That's right.
What was it was a 6.5 stake. And got a 97
wasn't
buyer.
There, so I completely forget.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's the other horse, but I feel like Big Ego's a horse that's better than he looks on paper, and on paper he's still kind of the horse to beat. I don't have anybody in here that I saw with dirt races that were good enough.
No, and I mean, don't you kind of want the drop downs in here as opposed to the ones who have been running for the 40? I thought, I thought Unaudited ran okay. So I think you have to use him protectively. But like a horse now I have him second just because I thought that his one dirt race against New York breds, third time out, no, talking about number 5, As You Chase Me, was against some good horses.
That's fair. Barn's been a little bit live, especially when
right.
Javier rides.
Exactly. So I don't think he wants, going 2 turns and this, shortening up to a mile on the main track. I threw him in there.
All right, we'll see what happens. Race number 6, and we'll break after 6, Eddie. We'll come back with the pick 6. Drake's Passage is the horse to beat in here, but we'll show his last race. We ran a very good second to Cascais. I'm a little bit worried that he's not as good on a wet track, Maggie.
Drake, I would agree with you. He's such a big, heavy horse that it makes sense, but there is, he's shown he can handle it. I don't think he doesn't run it all on it.
No, I don't think he's bad on it, but
right.
I don't know. He's such a weird horse.
He is
I
a
also
weird horse.
wonder if when he ran the Empire Classic, he was kind of going a little bit
the wrong way. Like he'd hit he came back guns a-blazing last year as a 3-year-old, and then, things kind of fizzled a little bit. I mean, but then his next race in the allowance was good.
He ran very well behind Maker's Candy that day. I don't have an argument against him. I just
honestly,
worried a little about it. And
I just put him second because I love Whittington Park here.
Right, and we'll show Whittington Park winning the Haynesfield, and I'm not worried about him on a wet track.
Nope.
He likes a wet track, and he was my other horse.
I thought he was against the track a little bit in a much tougher spot in the Westchester. I thought he was kind of taken out of his element in the Carter when
I agree,
Kendrick
because the pace was so slow. What was he going to do?
Exactly.
He actually ran pretty well in that race.
I agree. And against these New York breds, he's shown that he shows up.
Do you worry that Sheriff Bianco could wire the field? Because I'll tell you one thing. His second in the Empire Classic on a wet track was pretty good, and you got to think they're going to come out firing in there.
But they didn't that day.
Well, there were a lot more speedballs in there. I mean,
True.
Drake's Passage is really with a 7 coming out the other speed, unless you think that Donegal Surge is stretching out.
Well, see, that's kind of what I worried
about. Aggressive.
That's what I worried about.
I'll tell you what Donegal Surge is. I don't get a big feeling this horse wants to go 9 furlongs.
I just don't know about him. Honestly, I can't decide. I can't decide what he wants to do. He is a horse that I think, he didn't really, in his first couple races back, he just physically didn't look like he had gone. And then in the third start, he really did, and he kind of became more athletic.
He's gotten good. No, he's a good horse.
Yeah, he might be a closing sprinter. But then again, Todd's just typically so successful when adding more ground to his horses.
Well, at Naira, stretching out in the dirt, he's 33 for 172, 19% with a $1.02 ROI, and he's 23% $1.34 overall. Now, what I should have looked up, and I didn't, was, well, it wouldn't work for him. It was a first-time route because he routed in a mile race, but he's a completely different horse than he was when he was running as a 2-year-old.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to judge him on anything he did. And frankly, he ran the same figure going a mile. He was at 6.5 and 7. So there's no indication that he got worse. He just ran against better horses that day. He's kind of the wild card in here, right? Because he's the one we don't know how good he really is.
Right. A lot of these guys have been participating in these New York bred stakes, and we kind of know where they fit against each other. I mean, does Dr. Ardito decide to wake up? Because he has been, I think, dreadful in his last 2.
He has been bad. And is he really a horse you're as comfortable as a 1 1/8 horse around 2
right,
turns
because
with
he
a slower
needs
pace? Right. He's a perfect horse for the 1-turn mile races, but imperfect for the 1 1/8 races.
Agreed.
See what happens in the commentator. I got a call from Nick Zito this morning. Actually, I was having breakfast with my mom, and I called him back. He didn't answer.
Oh, love Nick.
I know.
I love getting to see him when I'm at Oakland.
He's such a good guy.
He is.
He
the
is,
nicest.
and of course,
So
commentator,
great.
his horse. I think, and Nick's obviously had a lot of great horses. Commentator may be probably the most talented of all of them.
I think you would
really
agree.
Was. He was on his day. He was as good a horse as you'll see. Okay, we'll take a break. We'll be back with the pick 6 after this.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. make every day exquisite.
I want to thank our friends at Saratoga Spring Water for.
Why didn't you bring me one?
There was only one. Drink out of that one, Mag. It's warm.
No, this is a prop. No, I'm kidding. But it's
There's
actually pretty
spring
cool.
water in it, isn't
No,
it?
I'm kidding. No,
I
could drink it, but I don't
I've been
want
known
to
to
ruin
crack into the ones in the desk at back at Aqueduct. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Hey, stop. She's Maggie, by the way. I'm Andy, in case you don't know. If you don't know, I don't know if you're lucky or not. Race number 7 off the turf. I have a replay of Raining at the Beach and Lucky and Gorgeous, who finished second and third behind Brooklyn Dance in the race. And I don't know, Mag, I wasn't particularly thrilled with either one of them, but I guess they both can win.
Can you be particularly thrilled about anyone in this field now?
No. I have the 3. Actually, I have Lucky and Gorgeous second for our man, Pat Reynolds. What'd you put on top here?
I went to this horse.
Oh, well, there you go.
I thought she ran. I felt like there was still some unearthing to do with this filly, that maybe she is a little bit better. Obviously, she didn't do much running in her first start, but she did some running here. After a slow start, Rudy opts to put the blinkers on today, and I thought...
Oh, the 8. I'm sorry. Oh, you picked the horse who was second. Go ahead. I'm sorry. For some reason, I was looking at the 3. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
So, Raining at the Beach. Thought it was kind of fitting, raining at Saratoga today. No, I'm kidding. It's not going to rain. But yeah, I thought she could be the best of a pretty
I'm
weak
not
bunch.
sure why I left this one completely out.
Raining at the Beach?
Yeah, I guess Sendera and the wet track, that was okay. I don't think I like Lucky and Gorgeous getting the switch to Javier. I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah.
It's a little hard at this point. I'm seeing if Tour Jeté would improve, but as a war dancer, I'm betting the 14 Tone of Silence. It's a completely underexposed horse, getting a trainer switch. And I know people are going to look and say, "Oh, Juan Bernardini is 0 for 19."
Former Morley assistant.
He's okay.
And Todd.
He just doesn't get too many. Just doesn't get that many opportunities. And this horse ran against significantly better horses first time out.
Okay.
And I just thought, gets a little more distance, a tonalist. Maybe this horse is kind of a wild card race.
Who picked up him? Who picked her up?
I don't know. Eddie, do you have
There
any?
were
you know what? No, wait.
changes out
No, I have
yet.
the changes.
Do
I
you?
have
I
them.
just got them off Naira Bets.
Harry.
There we go.
Saratoga Flash came out of the last race, by the way. Harry just sent him. Hang on.
Jose Gomez.
Jose Gomez. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, we like Jose.
Yep.
Thanks, Steve. Steve just texted me, too. The infamous Steve. I'm going to take a shot with the source and the trainer switch. Just a new face, kind of, in a race where I ain't
How
excited.
can I disagree with you with a horse that's probably going to be one of the biggest prices on the board?
Right. Thought maybe a little more distance.
With I'm sure some randomness to be had in this affair.
I mean, this was a race. I looked at it long and hard when it came off the turf, and I'm glad. I mean, I wish that we were on the turf for every race, but at least the fact that I picked off the turf picks for every single non-stake race this entire weekend. So at least a few of them came in handy at the end. Though I would have saved a lot of time if I did them for none and just did them this morning.
Your work ethic is unparalleled.
It hasn't done much good for me this weekend, let me tell you something. Race number 8, the Critical Eye. I really like. You know what? These picks are wrong, guys. I sent you the wrong picks. I think this is my fault. I'm 2-8-6-1.
You like
it's
my
it's
girl,
on me.
Venti.
Well,
What was happening last time?
I do think, let's talk about Fingal's Cave, though,
Okay,
first.
let's
We'll
talk
take
about
a look
Fingal's
at her in the Fleet Indian, actually, in the mud up here 2 years ago. She likes a wet track. She's been running against much better horses in her
She
races.
likes Saratoga and a mile and an eighth.
She's just the horse to beat. And to be honest with you, if I can root for a horse in this race, I'm rooting for her.
I'm totally with you there. Do I, as a horse, for some weird reason, do I like Venti Valentine more? And I can't actually say
No, I don't think
why.
Betty Valentine's better than this horse.
I don't think so either. But in a weird way, I just like Venti Valentine in this spot.
I like the post. Getting
Right.
an inside post. I like Irad picking up this horse.
Right.
And I'll tell you something, I didn't show the replay. She actually ran really well last time at Monmouth in that
Really
wacky
well.
race.
I mean, she isn't a horse that's generally on the front end, but she broke well, and Paco, as Paco does, just put his hands down, and she just kind of cruised up to the lead, and her ears were going back and forth, so she was enjoying being up there. And then she got eliminated by a Colt, and I thought still stayed on well.
And that race was just collapsing at the end.
Yeah,
So,
right. Kathleen O to win. She's always the one making the last move. So I'm a Venti Valentine fan, but you can't deny the fact that Fingal's Cave has run faster consistently throughout her career.
But as we also look at Buston Bay's last race, and Buston Bay has been very good and consistent, and I think she's a player here.
I just don't like that
She's got to get a
post.
mile and 1/8, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Fingal's Cave and Buston Bay, they have the outside posts in here, posts 7 and 8 with a scratch, and Venti Valentine is right down comfortably towards the inside. So from a trip standpoint, Venti Valentine is just going to get, in all likelihood, a better trip than those two without using as much energy early.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I saw it. And I've never been that convinced that Buston Bay wants to go this far. She is 1 for 1, but it's not a race that would win this one.
I do want to talk a little about Midtown Lights. We show her last race.
Could she just be getting better finally?
She is getting better. And
Yeah.
I don't know if she's a mile and 1/8 horse, but
That's
she's
what worries
really
me.
improving for Brad.
Is her pedigree says that no, she's not a mile and 1/8 horse, but does she look like a mile and 1/8 horse? Yes.
No, I don't want to be completely dismissive of her. Obviously, this is a significantly tougher group than she's been facing, but she took a big step forward last time.
Huge step forward. I feel like you look at the Venti Valentines and the Fingal's Caves of the world, and they have been consistently running against better horses. This is a real test for Midtown Lights, but would I be shocked if she stepped up and won here? No, not necessarily, but you wonder if with connections, is she going to take a little bit more money than you would expect?
I don't know, because she didn't get bad last time. And there's a lot
fair
of
point.
names in here and stuff.
Very fair.
The funny question is, what horse in here has the highest lifetime Buyer speed figure?
Oh, this is a quiz.
Sunset Louise.
Yes, with the 91.
But her form is suspect, and how does she win this race with Bonadju in here? Isn't
Yeah, I
she
don't
a
know.
horse that needs to control?
I just don't think she's as good without Lasix.
I'm a little suspect. I agree. She has not run well since she went off Lasix, but she is capable on her day of running a race that gives her a chance in here.
Yeah.
All right.
You can tell it's been a long week. We're both losing our voice.
Everybody in the team, I think, is losing their voice. It's been
Yep.
a long week. A great week, but a long week nonetheless.
Yes.
You probably were not on Caroline Street at 1 in the morning last night. I might have been. I'm not saying I was, but I might have been.
Mystery. Keep them guessing.
The guy was almost going to card me at Desperate Annie's. I said, dude, he's carding everybody.
Were you pleased by this, or were you upset?
I wasn't. I was neither. I was just
He's like,
amused.
"Lemon."
I was amused by it. I wasn't drinking that much, actually.
No, kidding.
Race number 9. We are off the turf. Oh, the turf. These are mile races, by the way, off the turf. What did you do here?
What did I do? I went to the MTO.
No, you went to the. You went to the 16. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was missing.
Because I just thought he was loose.
He is, but he's got to get a mile, man. And I know he almost got the mile and 1/8 last time, to be honest, when he ran well. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this horse.
I'm not either. And to be honest, I scratched into him. There were other horses that I thought might stay in that didn't.
Like Better Lucky Than Good, who
Right.
I also liked as well as you, and Christophe. I thought he was interesting. He ran against real horses in his debut on the dirt. Real horses.
It's a tough distance to get first time out.
I was surprised that he came out. Christophe stays in a lot,
Especially
too.
at Belmont.
I just don't know how good he really is, and I'm not convinced he wants the mile, but he is loose, I think.
I think he is too. Again, but I mean, Miracle Mike, he can run well.
Absolutely.
His dirt races, or especially the two up here last year, put him certainly in the mix against this field.
No, I agree. His Albany mate gives him a chance in here. He doesn't have a lot of speed, but he has run fast enough.
I think he's going to show a little bit more speed.
Okay.
Because remember how rank he was first? I mean, he could have been fresh, but Tom, for whatever reason, does put a little bit more speed sometimes in his horses. So I think he will be closer in this race than what
Not
we've seen.
as far back as he's been.
Right.
I'm taking Starquist. I don't know
Okay,
if Starquist
I tried
is
with him
ever
last
gonna-
time, and he
Everybody tried with him
Made
but
me
me
angry.
last time, and he was bad. But you know what? This is a field that if he can find that form he once had, he's also going to be forward. He's not going to be in front in all likelihood, but he's going to be sitting probably second here. And I've been waiting to see him if he can ever run a good race again. And maybe he can't. Maybe he's just never going to find that form. And he's also a horse that might not want to go quite this far, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But I just didn't want anybody else in here. I mean, I guess Union Trail has some fair dirt races, but they're not very good. I
Right.
guess the argument for him is he's improved.
Right.
You know, and he ran when he
Right.
ran one turf race, he was running the same kind of figures that he was running on the dirt, and he's improved a lot in his last race. And his last dirt start's not that bad.
I didn't use him. I'm probably remiss not to. I think I kind of convinced myself that he is a much better horse on turf just by looking at him, but that's really not the case when you look at his form. So he's dangerous in here. I mean, TT leaves in, Jorge Abreu leaves in Whistler's Honor. And I'm kind of like, why? So now I'm intrigued.
You know what? He's a
He's a
totalist.
totalist.
That's form has been somewhat mediocre, and he probably figured, what better opportunity am I going to get to see if he can run it all in the dirt? Because honestly, there's no killers in this race.
No, and the dam, she ran one time. She ran second with a 73 on the dirt. And while the sibling who's had the most of dirt form, they're fairly mediocre races and slow races, at least she's 1-2.
He transfers any of his form from the turf to the dirt. He's probably going to
He's
win.
a player, yeah.
I'm not a fan, but I'm not going to be shocked when this horse runs. It's not like I trust Starquist implicitly. Race number 10, the Mount Vernon, it did hold up fairly well with 3 coming out, but there was an AE in here as well. And I thought this was a tough race. And I understand as we go, I think the first video is Stonewall Star. Stonewall Star was one of the craziest day news of all time last time. He went
Wasn't
from
she?
9-1 to 9-2 last flash, and we don't have last flash changes like that here. They almost never ever happen anymore. We're not getting the CAW money coming in with less than 2 minutes to go. So if they are betting it much at all in the win pools, it's certainly well before the last flash. She woke up. Okay. She runs this race, she's probably going to win. I'm not going to argue that, Maggie. But this was the best race she ever ran. And I just don't want to take her off one sort of fluky race, though I think Horacio's a terrific trainer. His horses are, as usual, running very well.
Yeah, that's just the way I saw it. And she just has the speed here.
Yep.
I mean, she very well could be the speed.
She's Garn.
Yeah.
She's Garn, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
She is way the horse to beat. I'm not against her.
Yeah.
I feel like she's going to be a super short price. And obviously they've made Tough Street 8-5, but I thought that he might make her, he may be right, she's 8-5 in here, he might make her a little higher because you knew that Stonewall Star was going to stay in if it came off the
And
turf.
probably
And-
entered looking at the forecast. I mean,
Well,
the forecast looked so much worse than what it actually played out to be that when he made this entry, Horacio, he was probably like, I'm golden. Like,
Right, and I think, from David's perspective, what's he supposed to do? He has
Right.
to make her what
Oh,
price she's going to be on the
exactly.
turf.
No.
And I'm not saying Tough Street won't be 8-5 in here because we'll take a look at her last race. She's a very cool horse, Tough Street. I am a fan. She is super consistent.
Yeah.
She runs well every time.
Yeah.
But while I'm picking against the 2 likeliest winners here, take a little bit of a shot. I just prefer of the 2 most likely winners, like you, the horse is going to be in front.
That's totally what I saw. So, like you said, with Tough Street, she showed, in her last 3 races off the bench, she rounded back into form. And it was so good to see because it wasn't going well for her in her last 2 of 2023. So, yes, she is the MTO in an off the turf race, but I just think Stonewall Star is a better horse than her.
If she runs her last race, she probably is better
Yeah.
than her, and she's going to be forward. I'm taking a shot with Sweetest Princess.
Okay.
I understand she's not going to probably get the pace she needs, but she has that sloppy track race back at Aqueduct. Now, I don't know how wet the track's going to be. It could, if it gets a little worn out, this track could dry out a little bit. But
Right.
regardless, she has that big win. And I thought she ran very well, that she got a good trip that day. She had legitimate trouble in the Biagio's Rose early in that race that compromised her. She wasn't winning at 6 furlongs last time. She gets a little more distance. I'm kind of a fan of this horse, and I just want to take a little bit of a shot with a horse that at times has run competitive figures. I don't know if she'll get enough pace to run into, but I also think she's going to be a very big price in here, and she's going to outrun her odds. I'll mostly try to get her in the exacta with the favorites.
I'm not against her whatsoever. And like you said, yes, she is you kind of wonder how they're going to bet this race. Are they going to be smart and realize that, the horses that even though they were entered for the turf have the better dirt races? Or
I don't know.
or
It's a
they
good
just-
question. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, excuse me, Silver Skillet's last dirt race was actually fast enough on figs to be competitive here. I don't really trust her to run it against more legitimate dirt horses.
I think if the track's still wet, then she
Probably
will be
moves
tough
up.
in here.
What about overacting staying in? I mean, it's not like this horse on the sire side doesn't have some pedigree, but and melodramatically, my memory serves me, was a Graham Motion horse, I believe, that was strictly a turf horse as a daughter of theatrical. She ran at Aqueduct in her first start in the turf, melodramatically. Can you look her up? The dam?
Oh, all right. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I picked her on the turf.
Yeah, I thought she was going to
Because
be very
I thought-
dangerous.
I thought she improved from 3 to 4. And I feel like last year as a 3-year-old, she was never doing anything right. Like before her races, she was crazed, basically.
She was
Remember?
crazy in her first start.
Right.
She ran off on Javier.
And
still
now
won.
she's learning
She
the
rated.
game. And
Good trip or not, she rated comfortably last
did,
time. You want to know what's funny? Of the 3 wins for Klarovich this weekend, the lowest fig was randomized. She got a 99. General Partner got a
Really?
101, and Ways and Means got a 104.
Wow.
Yeah, Ways and Means got one of the biggest figures of the weekend. Arthur's Ride,
She
I think,
got
was the
a
biggest figure.
104. Oh, what did Arthur's Ride get?
I think somebody said a 111. I think
That was
108, 111.
insane.
I didn't look it up, but somebody said
That performance
that
was insane.
crazy.
And then Cogburn got a
10. Oh, he got a
4?
huge figure. No,
Oh,
did
no,
he get
he
like
got
a 111?
111 or 113
He got a huge
or something
number,
like that. Yeah.
Of course, winning a turf sprint like that by 4 lengths, he is a freak show, that horse.
Yeah.
I've never seen, I think it's the first time there's been a sub-minute 5.5 furlong race.
Okay, melodramatically.
Sorry, we like to digress.
She's turf. She didn't win
yeah.
first time out.
Did she run an Aqueduct? I thought she ran an Aqueduct first
Yeah,
time.
she ran an
Yeah.
Aqueduct. No,
Yep.
she didn't run. She ran second time out at Aqueduct.
Yeah.
She broke her maiden at Belmont after 10 tries.
It took that long? 'Cause her first race was good, right?
no.
No, okay. All right, we're done with that. We'll move on. Nonsense here.
Yeah, it's mostly
We
turf
can
on the
go down
bottom.
rabbit holes as well as anybody.
Yep.
The Bowery came up a very fun race, actually, as we move on, and we'll take a look at the horse that you have on top, who I have second. Is way the horse to beat. Landed the last win. I got no knock on this horse. She's good.
Right, and she's finished in front. I think. Well, I don't know where Bernie takes charge, where she's going to land in the wagering, but she's shown she can beat her. And the other horse in here is La Bencara. And how do we know we're going to get the same race that we got first time out from her? I mean, it was good. I will say that, but she was 20 to 1 that day.
We'll show her. That's the thing. And it was also 16 days ago. We'll look at La Bencara
Right.
getting that. I'll tell you what. If she runs this race,
They're in trouble.
they're all in trouble. This was a fast race. Geopolitics ran the race. I think they thought she was going to run first time out.
And Geopolitics was one of only 2, I think, in the race that had experience, and so therefore she was a heavy favorite, and none of the first-time starters were taking that much money. And they ding-donged around the racetrack, and she got the better of a horse that had at least a race under her belt and put a lot of separation between her and the rest of the field. So
No, this was. You
But
missed
you're
the wedding
dealing
on her,
with-
but this was some race. She ran.
obviously, maybe, they showed their hand a little bit when Javier Castellano was booked to ride first time out, but you're dealing with some lower profile connections. So, do we know we're going to see it again?
I am not going to bet a horse like this. I've got her fourth, but to suggest that she's not a very dangerous near is foolish, because she's probably the speed of the speed as well. Now, I thought speed was good last time, but I thought the rail was good, and she was not on the rail in her last start. She outdueled the horse on the rail. I'm not going to knock her. She's good. She is. But I thought her speed also makes the 7 a little bit vulnerable, because the 7 is a horse that wants to be forward.
At least
And
she's
I think
drawn
the
outside
pace,
of her, though.
No, I'm not. I don't worry
Yeah.
about that. I'm just saying
And
I think the
she's
pace could
turning-
heat up.
Right, but she's turning back. So naturally, she's not
Right.
going to be as quick as La Bencara. but she's going to have the stamina to finish off a 7/8 race.
Yeah, believe me, she is the worst to beat. I am not arguing it, but I want to give Caldwell Loves Gold another chance.
Okay.
I'm not in love with the idea of being wet, though she did run well up here at Aqueduct in the wet track in her third start. And I know she's disappointed in some people, but this is a horse that ran an 80 buyer and a 77 buyer as a 2-year-old.
I'm with you.
And the 2 races she's run, okay, the Eastview, I thought the rail kind of got good late that day.
It
She
did.
was
Sweet
outside.
Brown Sugar was
and
brilliant.
that was her first start. And then they tried her in the turf, got like a turf prep sort of last time out. And she's going to get pace. And the other thing is, after being a short price in a lot of races, she ain't going to be a short price in here. And I want to give her one last chance to get her act together in a race where I think they're going to be moving up front.
I don't disagree with you at all. You have Tricky Temper third? See, that's one I didn't really like.
Tricky Temper is a horse that did run a 73 buyer in November. And
2-year-old?
that's a race that's fast enough with a 6 to 8 point bump to be competitive here. I don't love her in here, but I didn't like some of the others. I thought Sunday Girl has been opportunistic. Thought that Pea Mutter Pickle, wherever, I'd love to know where that comes from.
Some friend of Stuart Grant's that plays pickleball.
There you go. Maggie knows everything. I mean, I think Bernie Takes Charge, you have second, could be a little bit dangerous. The problem is she's a 1-number horse. And I know it was behind My Main Squeeze, who's more than a 1-number horse. And if she runs back to that race, she can win. The rest of her races are just, they're not good enough.
Yeah, they're kind of parallel to some pretty mediocre horses in here. But
I mean, finished that Caldwell Loves Gold.
you know,
I like
you look
her.
at the
I can't dismiss her.
at the running lines and where she's finished against several familiar foes in here. I just think that it'd be foolish not to use her.
No, she's not impossible in here as well. The shoelays improved, but this is a much tougher
And she doesn't
spot.
get the lead here.
You know,
Or projects, I should say.
as we turn the page to the Kingston, what'll be the 47th race we've run this weekend, it's such a shame because this race came up in absolute war.
Sick.
But oddly enough, I'm kind of glad to see that Spirit of St. Louis gets a
Stayed in.
chance to run in the dirt
Back
again
on the dirt,
because
yeah.
based on his first race in the slop, where he ran a 91. No, we're not showing replays here, Eddie. Eddie, hi, that's on the turf. I didn't want to confuse anybody. It's been a long weekend for Eddie. You've held up well,
Poor
Eddie. You
Eddie.
really have.
It's okay.
You've held up very
From
well.
the last race.
You
of the
know,
last
there was
stalking
the little
horses.
glitch yesterday. There was that. But other than that, I'm going to give you at least an A. Okay? You've kept it from an A+, but it's been an A weekend for you. But believe me, I wish I was having an A weekend. I'm somewhere at a D, I think. I've wanted to see this horse get back on the dirt. And I wasn't going to bother Chad Brown. He's not going to stay in because I tell him to or not. This horse's first race in the wet track was extremely good. And he lost Olympic Dreams the next time.
Yeah, he did beat Review. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, he's a monster on
No,
the turf.
right.
I'm not sure he couldn't have won the poker yesterday.
You know, and it's funny. When this race was still on, and I was handicapping it for that. It was this fun race where I thought I could make some cases for some long shots, but then I just kept going back. And Spirit of St. Louis just felt like
Probably
the best
too good
horse.
for them.
And he
Jerry the Nipper.
just you're interested in him?
I was going to pick him, yeah.
Is suntan after his Barbados trip?
You're just mad you didn't go to Barbados. You know, it's great. You know, who won that race, right? Do you realize who that is who won it?
No.
Portfolio Company.
Oh, I knew that. I knew that.
Your new
I
best
knew-
friend,
I
Seth.
knew that.
It's not his horse anymore.
I know.
He did
'Cause
not.
I saw,
Seth said to me when he won
saw
it.
it, and the horse is completely decked out in hot pink. And I was like, I don't think that's Seth's horse anymore.
After he won, I
it
joked
said Chad
with
Brown,
him.
too.
And he texted, yeah, they had Chad
Yeah.
still as the trainer. And Seth said to me, that race wasn't going to be on our itinerary.
But it was for who was
Jerry the
who's
Nipper.
Gay Smith. That's not who originally owned him.
No, it was Rapoli. This was Mike's
Right.
horse.
What's happening?
Well, this horse had more
Okay.
excuse-riddled trips than any other horse running last year. I mean, this was a very lucky horse. And there's a time he was really good in the dirt. So I've got him in there. But you've got Maker's Candy on top, and he might just be the best dirt horse, though. I'm not sure. I think it might be Spirit.
He's a little tough to trust, right? You know,
He is. He's a little tough to trust.
I get it, but I just thought that, when in doubt in these races, go to speed. But you don't know also with number 12, Saratoga Flash, what he's going to do.
He scratched. I know exactly what he's going to do. I
Jeez.
believe he
I was
scratched.
really
I
bad
think
at
I just got an email saying he was scratched. I don't want to.
No.
Don't hold me to that.
Oh.
Don't hold me to that because he's still listed as running. But I thought that Harry sent something and said he was scratched. Yes.
Okay.
He is
Oh, yep.
scratched. Yep.
No, wait. Sweet Mystery
No, that was the
and Saratoga
email
Flash.
before it.
Got it. Okay. All right.
I was wondering if
Just
he was
kidding.
running.
Okay, I like him even more now. Just
What about you want to give, is Jackson Heights, I mean, he's the MTO, but he's just not fast enough to beat these horses. And he has
He's
no
not
speed.
fast enough, and he is so slow early that, I mean, how, given, even
There's
if
some-
the
there's some
racetrack
good dirt
is
horses here.
changed, I don't think it's going to change as dramatically, or he's going to be able to make up all that ground.
See what happens. It's
Yeah.
a pleasure, Maggie.
Likewise.
We were going to do Thursday together, but then you had actual obligations.
Honestly, I wish we had done Thursday.
Well, I'm
I would've
glad
been a lot
we saved you
fresher.
for last because it's always good to start my day out hanging out with you. Anyway, that does it. And once again, I think for both of us and everybody, thanks for the support. And we're going to have some fun today. I know we're off the turf and we're starting out sloppy at least, but the day's going to be okay. And it's still nice being in Saratoga, and we'll be back on
Pleasure.
July 11th.
Yep, looking forward to it. It was really nice to be up here for the weekend.
It
I
really
agree.
was. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Saratoga's nice place to be, and we'll bring the whole show up here for a couple of months on July 11th. Head over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code MATCH200, and we'll match for $200 of your initial deposit. Makes sense. We've got the $5,000 hit and split if you bet the winners of all 6 New York bred stakes today. Opt in at Naira Bets and check it out at nairabets.com for more information. We have Cross Country Big 5, 2 at Monmouth, 3 at Belmont. Of course, Paul Duke will be back at Monmouth today, as we'll be covering their races as well on America's Day at the Races. Kicking off at 12:30, and there you go. FS2, 12:30 to 3, 3 to 4
Look,
in
Eddie
FS1.
did it. See?
Eddie,
He's ending on
okay,
a high note.
You're verging back to an A+. But Eddie, let me ask you a question. Did you have anything to do with this actually happening?
Troy.
You go
the
to
truth
an
comes
A.
out.
You
It
go to
was
an A
Troy.
plus though because you were honest. So Troy gets the credit on that one. Anyway, thanks again, everybody. And Maggie and I'll see you out throughout the day, and we'll be back at the Big A on Friday,
Yes.
June 14th. All right, take it away, Frank Miramati, for the reprise of Scratch and Changes.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.